She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Forbes could take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the top, it's hard to up him anyway.
I'm just not even gonna comment on that.
Welcome back to another episode of Footy with the Boys, a little emergency pod type situation for a U.S. men's national team. Breaking news, Pellegrino Matarazzo has been reported to have been offered the U.S. men's national team job. First came out through Bild, which is a German tabloid. Doesn't have maybe all the merit you'd want, but then Kicker, a publication in Germany, comes out and also corroborates that report. There has been some reports that hasn't been fully offered yet with actual paperwork, but certainly it seems like Pellegrino Matarazzo, if he wants a job, it is his for the U.S. men's national team. Nick, when you saw this coming in, what was your first initial response without learning anything more about Pellegrino Matarazzo?
I don't think the timing's too bad. You know what I mean? We got to get someone here soon. So I think like maybe by I'd say end of the transfer window, so like end of August, I think we have to have someone in place. The World Cup run is not that far away, boys. So there's like an international break in like 2 months from today or something like that. So I
September.
Yeah, even less, like a month and a half probably. So we got to get someone in. It's time to hire someone. I knew the name, knew he was a Hoffenheim coach. Didn't know too much about him until digging a little deeper throughout today. But I guess my first thought was, okay, timing makes sense. Let's do this emergency pod.
Yep. So that was the first initial reaction. Then we were able to deep dive onto Pellegrino Matarazzo, who, we had some knowledge of his time at Stuttgart and Hoffenheim and what he's been able to do. We talked a little bit about him in a previous video as a candidate. But now we did the deep dive on our potential new head coach here. So Pellegrino Matarazzo, born in New Jersey, he would be the third men's national team coach, joining Bob Bradley as well as Greg Berhalter, born in New Jersey. As this tweet from Men in Blazers shows, he does have a mathematics degree from an Ivy League college in Columbia. So
red flag.
I mean, he is a smart guy. He's a nerd.
I agree.
Red flag.
No, I agree.
Red flag.
I don't know, but so he played there at Columbia. It was all conference or all American. I'm not sure which one. Twice. Then plays in the German lower leagues a little bit. In his final stint at Nuremberg, he decides to get his UEFA coaching license. And who is in that UEFA coaching license class or course with him? None other than Julian Nagelsmann. So they strike up a relationship there, a friendship. And that leads to him being an assistant at Hoffenheim under Nagelsmann. First started as a youth coach, so he does have experience with youth player development. Then he gets to the assistant with Julian Nagelsmann. They get third place. Nagelsmann moves on from Hoffenheim to RB Leipzig. And Pellegrino Matarazzo moves on to Stuttgart, who is in the second division. He gets Stuttgart, who had, I believe it's 8 coaches within the last 3 years before he was hired. He gets them up to the Bundesliga again. And he was there for 3 years, which, considering if they had 8 managers in the 3 years prior, the fact that he was the one manager for the next 3 years shows you how much success he was able to have with Stuttgart. Led them to 9th in his second season once he was in the Bundesliga. And that final season, I believe, is nine-game run where they were winless, and that's when he was let go. But just 4 months later, he was swooped up by Hoffenheim, the place that he started his career under Julian Nagelsmann. And he was able to lead them from a relegation scrapping team to 7th place last season. Was, I believe, the first team to take points off of Bayern Munich twice in a season. So that he's done well with upsets. He's done well with Hoffenheim, bringing them from a relegation to 7th and getting them into Europe and Europa League. And 55% win rate in cup, so he's not adverse from winning in a cup mentality. Pellegrino Matarazzo is American, spent 20 years in German football in that whole system under Julian Nagelsmann, who's now considered one of the better coaches out there. Nick, from his resume, where would he stack up with some of the other coaches we've talked about? The Hervé Renards, the Patrick Vieira, the Titi Henry. I think those are the ones that have been kind of mentioned somewhat the most.
He's above every MLS coach who we've talked about. I mean, doing it abroad is different than. I think the golden boy of the MLS is Wilfried Nancy. I've never been pro Wilfried Nancy. I know you've kind of talked yourself into that higher. I like this option better than that. After that, I don't know. I don't think he's someone that I necessarily like that much. Listen, I still think that my top two and my dream guys were Hervé Renard and Gareth Southgate, and I still think both of those are miles clear of a higher of this Matarazzo character. So I think like it was a little like, whoa, who is this guy? Let's learn about him. And honestly, the more I learned about him, didn't like it. A lot of the things that you just said, not really sounding too much music to my ears. I know you mentioned like the whole bringing up youth development. I don't care. We have a World Cup run in 18 months that we don't need to like bring up youth development. We need to go win. My biggest checklist, I know I speak for Tracy too, even though he's not here with us right now. Our biggest thing was international experience and international modes of success. So swing and a miss on both of those does not check either of those boxes off. My other thing, as I got more and more into, what I really think would benefit this player pool and this next run that's coming up in the World Cup, is that I want someone who plays simple tactics. I don't think that's this guy either.
I don't think
rather simple tactics. It's just very aggressive simple tactics.
From everything I see, he like changes his tactics a lot based on who he's playing, which is fine, but also, do we really have the time to like really get that through to players? And do we really have the player pool capable of adapting that often? I don't know on both of those. Things I did like about him, he does like defensively. I like his defensive structure. I like the idea of quick counters, which he, tries to do this like high counter press and stuff like that. Not sure about the 3 center back thing, which I'm sure we'll get here in a second. But overall, just very like, thank God this isn't an MLS guy. Past that, meh.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Was Matt Crocker came out. He said he wants a serial winner, an international winner, a big name. Money is no object. And when you hear that, obviously your mind is headed to the Pochettinos, the Klopps, the Jose Mourinhos, the crazy names that you can really kind of just dream about. And even the Hervé Renard, you think it is hard to compare to somebody like Pellegrino Matarazzo, not because Hervé Renard is so magically better, but because he's an international manager and has been terrible at clubs, so he stays international. And who's won, yes. Whereas Pellegrino Matarazzo has only done the club route, so you don't know what he's going to look like in an international setting, and it is a massively different game. So the comparisons are very hard. In terms of Patrick Vieira, Pellegrino Matarazzo has been more successful than him. Titi Henry, he's been more successful than him. I think a lot of the names, this isn't the ceiling, this isn't the highest pick, but I think among the names that have been rumored around, I do think it's at a much higher level than some of those that
do you think
happen.
Let's say theoretically they're still in the tournament. They look like the strong favorites. France wins this gold medal. You taking this kid over Henry?
Yeah, I'd still take him over Henry. I think Henry is...
I wouldn't take him over Henry.
You would take Henry 2 years away from a World Cup with little to no experience of a successive head coach other than having the wildly most stacked team in Olympics?
If he just won a decently major tournament, yeah, I'll take Henry.
But I would not take Henry. I love Thierry Henry as a player, but seeing him as a manager at Montreal, he was not great. Seeing him as a manager at Monaco was not great. Seeing him as a manager at Belgium, that Belgian team necessarily didn't do anything. And I don't think you can put that much on him. But once again, it's just him not necessarily having success in a manager room. Listen, I still think Pellegrino Matarazzo has the edge over him because he's actually had success at the club level where he's coached throughout his
But
career
why does
rather than
that?
Titi Henry.
Why does that matter? Why does him having club success matter at an international level
Because
when we
Thierry
have
Henry
20 months
hasn't. If
of
we're
the
doing
World
a
Cup?
direct comparison,
I know, and if we're doing a direct comparison, in this case, again, the scenario I threw out, Thierry Henry has a gold medal and he doesn't.
okay, but if you give that French squad, who is a wild favorite on anyone else in the field, because it's a home Olympics, they were able to get Elisa, they were able to get Mateta released, they were able to get Alexander Lacazette released. They are the massive favorite. If they don't win, it would be completely cross his name off, I think. If he wins, I think, yeah, his name can still be in the running, but I still think Matarazzo has proven himself to be a better manager, regardless of one stacked U23 tournament.
But you said it yourself, club level and international is so different. Like it's completely different horse. Like the tactics, you don't have an entire year, an entire summer to just hone into. You have a couple of weeks here and there. And at this point, he would have proven that he could have done that and set a team up for success in a tournament. I am not here banging the drum for Thierry Henry, but I just think that Matarazzo is, the more I'm talking, it's just incredibly, it's not just it's like incredibly underwhelming, incredibly so.
Yeah, I don't think it is the hire that necessarily, like I was saying, they say serial winner. They want no budget really. They're calling everybody. They're headhunting for the best. And we heard they're reaching out to Klopp. In that case, I do think in the case of making a home run hire, as they've been saying and dubbing what the US is looking for, there's a double. This is a double here, but I don't think Thierry Henry, I necessarily think, oh my God, we're going to do so well. But I also don't think I think that way about Gareth Southgate. I think a lot of the names that are real home runs, I don't know if I really believe are going to be interested in this US job. So that's where I'm content with this, but I wouldn't be ecstatic. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I understand your feeling and I get everything you're saying, but even amongst the realistic options, like I just don't know why when you this is the thing, we have a time limit, and it's not like this is a okay, we have a time limit because there's a World Cup going on in Spain and we have, we are hosting a World Cup in less than 2 years. Like all of the chips have to be in the middle of the table, and like this is what you're bringing to the table. I don't know, man. It feels, I understand like from the bigger picture what you're saying, but I am looking at this job only in the lens of this job lasts for under 2 years, 20 months, whatever the timeline is. That is this job, and I don't know if this is the guy for the job.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do a decent job. I think in terms of who I would think would really raise the ceiling, I would think Hervé Renard is the only one that I think right now of the very realistic options that I would be like, oh my God, this is a great hire. The other ones, like this one, I feel, okay, yeah, I'm okay with it, but it's not anything crazy. But as we get more into it, like you said, looking at his tactics, let's do a bit of a tactical deep dive, because that is where more question marks come up. He's had success with Stuttgart. He's had success with Hoffenheim and turning them around, having upsets. It's things you want to see, but the tactics are both good and bad. Nick, if we can pull up kind of those suggested lineups here, we can see he usually plays in a 3-back system. If you see here, we have Pulisic and Weah as those wide mids. The thing that I really realized looking at all of his different lineups he puts out, he does not put outside backs in those midfield roles, those wide midfield roles. They are always right mids, left mids. They are not wing backs. They are not playing right back. There was one guy throughout the season that really played right back on his career, but the rest was everybody. It was a right mid, a left mid, a winger. So it'd be tough to fit a Pulisic in there, and he had some play with a 2-striker system, which if you're just looking at an attacking stance, it would be good to have Pulisic, Reina, Weah, Musa, McKennie, Wright, and Balogun all together. But Nick, there's no way of fitting this in unless you're putting Pulisic up top and putting what?
No,
Anthony out wide, take out Dest and Weah. And
I think, okay, to be fair about your point, because I saw that too, of like he doesn't really play outside backs as wing backs. To be fair, at neither Stuttgart nor Hoffenheim, he's never been operating of like, let's go get this player because I really want him. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like, these are clubs where he has done, to his credit, very well for the resources provided. He's been able to do a lot with little, in my opinion, comparatively so. So, in my opinion, I think he would still do something a little more similar to what you see on the screen here with Jedi and Des, but the these three center backs, guys. What are we? This is not the vibe at all. I also don't love that everything gets so. It feels like, I mean, Pulisic is just out of position, even in this formation, playing kind of as like a shadow striker because Jedi's going to be the guy holding the width. You know what I mean? And yes, I get all the interchangeability in the middle, and that makes sense at a club level, but that's not something that can just be. That's something that has to be drilled in over time. Which again, that is not the reality of what the scenario is right now. Which is we don't have the time. We need proven things. So the center backs scare me. The way that we. I mean, the way that our players are being kind of pigeonholed really scares me. I don't know. I do like the idea of defending in the back five. I do like the idea of like his quick counters. Of even I don't even mind like pressing high up the pitch, like off a counter press, and then settling down into a lower block. I'm good with that, but I just don't think really it fits our player pool. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, so the other one was the 3-5-2, and that one obviously has its issues that are very obvious with having Pulisic and way out wide. This one that is now up, if you can switch back, is that 3-4-3. This is the one that he does primarily use. And I put in Jedi Robinson and Des instead of outside mids because I feel like if he is looking at it in a normal sense, we don't have depth out wide, as we've talked about on this pod multiple times. So you go with the outside backs, and Des is amazing in attack. He can basically be a winger. He played winger for a couple games for Barcelona. So that side, I'm not worried about. Jedi Robinson as an actual kind of attacker. He's great at bombing up and down the wing for a left back, but I'm not sure how he fits in. If he's in an actual midfield role, he'd probably slide more into a defensive role. John Brooks being reintroduced because he did play with Matarazzo at Hoffenheim. I don't know if that actually happened, but that just is something that he obviously had an issue with Greg Berhalter. He may be reintroduced here. But as you say, I mean, listen, the attack with the talent here, Pulisic, Balogun, Reina, McKennie, Musa, like that looks fine. That looks great. And that attack in transition looks whatever. Like that part is looking at the flowers and the rainbows. Looking at that back three, Nick, good God, if anybody with any type of pace broke on that back three, Ream, Richards, and Brooks, it is up to Chris Richards or it is a immediate goal. And that does bring up some more concern about what Hoffenheim did because while they averaged almost 2 goals every single game in the Bundesliga, one of the higher scoring sides, I think top 5 in Bundesliga, they also had only 2 clean sheets the entire season, which was dead fucking last in Bundesliga. So he is a very high, intense, transitional, counter-attacking team. They press the ball on heavy touches, and then if it's really slowing down, they'll sit back. But they allowed goals, which I'm not saying he'll use the exact same system. But Nick, is that? I mean, the center backs don't fit already, and it's not like he's a defensive coach. It's not a 5-back; it is a 3-back here.
I'm absolutely, and again, I don't hate the idea of the counter press, but we have to be a little bit like realistic of our player pool here. And when you look at our center backs, like, what you want to put Cameron Carter-Vickers back in there? Like, did we see what happened at Copa? Like, it's just not reliable. John Brooks, I'll believe it when I see it. Tim Ream is going to be older, and he already looks just way off the pace at times. And so,
Shaq Moore.
Like Shaq Moore is a clown. So even the midfield though, because I know what you're saying. Like, yes, defensively it's going to be a problem tactically, unless of course, he does something different than at club level, which he definitely can. But we're going off of what we have seen, obviously. That midfield, like, it's going to be up to Gio or Christian to drop, and then every time they drop, that attacking fullback is gonna to really connect play. I mean, they're gonna have to drop into the midfield. Every time they drop, Dexter Robinson is going to take that as their opportunity to go up. And then if you get caught out there, it is over. It is over. So I understand that, I think you can argue Reyna, Flo, and Pulisic are our best three attacking players, but I don't love the balance of that front three. I don't love the balance of Jess McKennie and Musa in the midfield. Again, I could be wrong, but tactically it has me scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah, and this is obviously a question mark. He's not wildly tactically rigid. He has shown some adaptation to switch around, but it is usually with still a 3-back. So
he always holds the 3-back, yeah.
Yeah, so that is kind of the big question is if he did come into this US men's national team job, does he then look at his player pool and say, hey, you know what? I don't have the center backs for this, so I'm going to switch some things up. I'm going to play some type of a 4-back. And obviously, he's been assistant under Nagelsmann. He's been able to coach. He knows other systems, but you'd imagine this would be his preferred system.
Yeah, you would think if this is what gets you the international job, you're going to keep doing what you know best. Like, I'm not hiring this guy to run a different system. I think I'm just not hiring this guy. Like, I think that's what I'm doing. So it's going to be interesting for sure if the rumors prove true.
Yeah. The rumor is that the offer has been out there for about a day or two. Before we do close and get our final opinions, Pellegrino did say previously when he was rumored to be in contention for the job when Greg Berhalter was rehired, that he was contacted before as well. And in that time, he also said, or in a different interview, he said, at some point I do want to come back and help out U.S. soccer, help the American soccer team. Is this that point? We will find out here shortly. This has been kind of your deep dive here. Before we close out, Nick, let's give this a letter grade here. What would you grade this hire for U.S. soccer?
C-.
B- why?
C-, not your B, not B- at all. It is a C-. It is a C is bang average. It is slightly below bang average. I like that he has been, proven to be a successful American head coach abroad. Do we have to have an American coach? I don't think so, but seems like it's trending that way. I like that he's had success. I like that he's been able to turn around quickly teams that he's been at. Everything else really leaves me scratching my head. And the biggest thing, guys, we have a World Cup in 2 years. This man has 0 international experience. As big of a red flag as you can get.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C+ on this one. I think that he has shown to have some success at club. I think it's easy to give a higher grade because the previous grade you would give for rehiring Greg Berhalter would be an F. So you'd like to say that this is still moving in a better direction, but C+, I feel like it's better than what is usual for U.S. soccer. I don't think it is the home run hire that they've been promising. That's been rumored that, hey, we'll pay whatever. And to be honest, if he wasn't American, is he going to be rumored with this job? I feel like that's almost the case with a lot of these coaches being rumored. Is Thierry Henry going to be rumored for this job if he's not Thierry Henry, the player? Probably not. Is Patrick Vieira going to be rumored with it? Probably not. Is Pellegrino Matarazzo going to be rumored with it if he's not an American? He's a random German coach that has done well with Stuttgart and done well with Hoffenheim. Probably not. So I say C+. He's been well, but I don't think it's the home run hire that we've been promised at all. Nick, you've been shaking your head this whole time.
I mean, at least Thierry Henry is Thierry Henry. Like he's won World Cups. He seems likely to win the gold medal. He knows football at the biggest stage. Vieira the same. I know they've had unsuccessful careers as club managers, but to me, that other shit matters more in this case. And so,
but I do feel like he's actually had a successful managerial career, which is more important to me than being amazing players.
It's just so different, international versus club. And so, like,
that is the point. It always comes back to is the international part. He is a good coach. And I have zero reservations that he would be a good coach if the U.S. was a club team. But it's international. His system is really wonky for what our player pool is, and you don't have transfers. You don't have something to fix
Time.
that. So yeah, you don't have time. You don't have really much of anything. And that's another thing is this system, this 3-back, it's not that complex. It's not, Wilfred Nancy crazy complex tactics. He's whatever. It is a relatively simple press and go and transition type team, but it's a different formation. It's a whole different formation, and that's not, the craziest thing, but that is still a big shift for this player pool to make within 2 years. And while it was just announced that there are rumors that the Gold Cup is essentially going to be a mini World Cup with Spain and France and Cameroon and all these people from every single place of the world joining the Gold Cup, we don't really have any tests. So yeah, it may work against a Panama and a Mexico and all these things in friendlies. Is it going to work in a World Cup? You're not really going to know. So it's going to be hard to work out kinks and then not really know if they are worked out. Let us know what you guys think in the comments of this potential hire, this offer, and where you think the U.S. will go with Pellegrino Matarazzo, what you think of his formation, his history, and who should be the coach if not him. We'll catch you next time here. Footy with the boys. Peace.